I said, well, I don't know anything about that dog. I said, but is your name Teresa Lucas? And she said, yes. How do you know that? Because she's a very private person. And I said, well, we went to middle school together. And she said, I'm going to look you up in my yearbook. Okay. I said, so how did you get into Los Key? Do you live there? She goes, no, I work over at the RV park. And I said, oh. And we just happened to need someone at that time. And I said, do you like working there? And she said, well, they just cut my hours. I said, I have a full-time job here. She goes, really? And I said, yeah. She goes, I'll get back with you. Okay. So the next day, I get this phone call, and this woman says, this is Teresa Lucas. I'm interested in the job, and I looked you up. I said, okay. She said, Miss McMillan's class. I said, yeah, that's me. So anyway, so she came in, and you guys, that's how y'all got Teresa. She came into Lost Key because she was, guess what, helping a dog. That's right. And so that's how Teresa ended up at Lost Key. And Teresa loved this place so much. She thought of every single person here as a member of her family. Yep. And Teresa was my work family for years. And I saw her, we joked about being, a married couple because we saw each other more than I saw my kids and my husband. But I'll tell you, she was very dedicated, and she was a very hard worker, and she was very, very protective of this place. You better belong here if you showed up at Lost Key. So,
I'll tell you a backup on that. We called her Hitler when we moved in.
she also she was a rule follower.
Yes,
and this place, the integrity of this place just meant a great deal to her, and it was very important to her to protect this property and the property value, and that was what Teresa was all about, was integrity and just a love of family and a love of community, and especially a love of pets. So that I just thought you guys might enjoy the story of how we got Teresa here in the first place. But I'll tell you, she was also a prankster, and she knew that I was terrified of snakes, which is kind of ironic to go and work at Lost Key if you're scared of snakes, but because we have some big snakes here. But anyway, she would always catch those little ribbon snakes and come in and try to scare me with them. And she was a prankster. But anyway, the other day I was doing an inspection at a property out on the beach, and I told Teresa's mom this. I looked down, and there was a little snake there, and I took a picture of it, and I automatically went to send it to Teresa's phone, because we were the critter getters here. We both loved possums and armadillos and snakes. I mean, she found a raccoon in the garbage can. It made her year. I picked up the phone, sent it to Teresa, and all of a sudden I realized that she wasn't going to get that picture of the snake, and it just kind of hit me all over again. It comes back in waves, and you just kind of have to remember that Teresa's not here to be a critter getter with me anymore. But I loved Teresa Lucas, and like I said, she was my work family for several years, and I miss Teresa, and I'm so glad that I got to meet you people, because I've heard all about all of you for a long time, and so it's very nice to see a face to go along with the stories and just things that we talked about and stuff when she was eating lunch, because she ate every 20 minutes. And let me tell you, it's hard when you're on keto and she's popping popcorn in there. It was tough. But anyway,
And she stayed
I love
skinny.
Teresa, and I miss Teresa, and I'm going to miss Teresa for a long time. So I just wanted to share the origin story.
Well, Kim, I think you have, we're going to have this sent back in loving memory of the critter getter.
The critter getter.
Critter on.
She would love that, actually.
She had other critters too. So one time she had chickens. We used to live near a chicken egg farm, and so the chickens would be in the woods, and some days she brought home a chicken. And when she was younger in Africa, her and Linda would go to the store, and we had a chameleon they would wear, and the chameleon would
These
hang
things
on the
were
t-shirt.
this big.
The chameleon like
They were big. They were not the little ones
And
in
they would walk
Morocco.
over
And
to the
you could get them, and they would
grocery
just
store.
hang on to you.
And we had turtles.
Turtles.
We had a snake. God knows what else. And tons of cats.
And they tried to
hamsters.
get in the house. They tried to come in the house,
And
but I
dogs.
wouldn't let them in the house.
She loved her. So she loved her dachshunds, and she was behind the. For many years, she was a critical person with the wiener dog.
Yeah.
Wiener dog races.
Yep.
Loved,
And
loved her.
Out of those wiener dog races, she gave to the Wiener Dog Foundation. I think it was
The
a total of
rescue,
about
yeah.
$33,000.
Wow.
Just from people going there and racing and stuff.
And there were many a times that she would come home and these animals would just follow her. They followed her home from school. They followed her home from playing down the street. And one day there was a box in the, I think Sonia was little at that time, but there was a box on the front door. And I went to there and we opened the box and there was a dog in there. A live dog. And we didn't know where it came from, but it was in the box. And it was just something that just happened, you know. Nobody ever knew about it. Teresa didn't know a thing about it.
Maybe.
A few years later, somebody came over, one of her friends came over, and there's that dog. Oh, is that the dog? Teresa, is that the dog that we put on your front porch in that box?
That was Maggie.
That was Maggie.
That was Maggie.
Well, I have a feeling that Teresa's hanging out with St. Francis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dr. That's right.
Just one other thing, we were fishing on the beach one time, and somehow I guess she hooked a turtle or something and got him up there, and he was hurt. His leg was hurt, and she dug a big hole in the sand and put water in it. And this turtle was about that big. She set him in the water, and then she went and got a vinyl wrap or some kind of, those blue tarp things. And she picked up the turtle and she put it in there, and she wrapped it up and then put it in a cooler, put it in the car, and drove to Fall Walton, where they have the
Yeah.
what do you call it, dolphins and stuff?
Yeah.
And they rescued it.
Wow.
And they set it free eventually.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was all about trying to save animals. She recruited owners here to try to save a goose over there.
Yeah.
And owners, after she died, owners came over and said, we're looking after this goose for Teresa. I forget who it was. It was like 2 or 3 owners. They had her cage and everything to try to save a goose. And it was because Teresa wanted it saved. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a broken wing.
Yeah. And they were looking for the cage because Teresa was trying to save this other goose too, and it was just really sweet. But yeah, Teresa definitely loved the animals. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, those of you that had interaction with Teresa knows that if she looks at you straight, everything's fine. If she cranks her neck like that, you better watch out. And I love Teresa. She's so much fun. And I used to ask her all the time, do you have a crick in your neck every time you see me? She's always like this.
She probably thought you were carrying glass instead of plastic. It was plastic though.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Teresa runs a tight ship. And all that. And I did challenge her quite a bit.
You could always recognize her laugh.
Teresa, she found a hummingbird in one of the bottle brush bushes that was, she said she diagnosed it as being exhausted, and I believe her, but she brought it in my office and she let me hold it, and she went and got a spoon and put some sugar and some water, and she fed that hummingbird, and that hummingbird ate that sugar water out of her hand. I cannot believe nobody else would have fed a hummingbird with a spoon, but she made it an environment in this shoebox, and she let it rest for a little while, and then she went outside and it flew away, and it was the most beautiful thing. But I thought that was the coolest thing in the whole world, and that would have only happened to me if Find Kim later.
Just get started.